What is up, everybody? We are back with another Indy Investor Pod. It is Brett and Brian with you here today, and we're just going to do a little breakdown of Indy. Kind of look at a map, do a little overview, let you know what we think of different sections, different neighborhoods, different areas, kind of as a whole, and just kind of a little bit of vague. But we'll get into some a little deeper as well with some areas and stuff like that. We'll talk about maybe some of the stuff that we're biased in, whether it's positive or negative, and we'll just get into a little bit of that stuff today. So that's what we'll look forward to here on this episode of the Indy Investor Pod. What is up, everybody? We are ready to rock here with another episode of the Indy Investor Pod, and we're just kind of breaking down Indy today. What is going on with the different areas, different neighborhoods, just kind of look at a map, and we're just going to do a quick overview of everything and stuff. So with me today, I got Brett. What's going on, man? You ready for this?
I am, Brian. I am super pumped up, and love talking about Indy. Love talking about real estate inside of Indianapolis and around Indianapolis, and we're ready just to educate all of you on Indianapolis, the streets, some of the neighborhoods, how Indianapolis is laid out, where we're investing, where we're seeing other people investing, and I'm excited, man.
Yeah. Before we get into this, I'm just going to pull up the map, and we're going to kind of look at it here in a bit. Before we get into that, I'm going to kind of put you on the spot, man. And I just want to know, so you started investing in Indy back in like 07, 08.
Yeah.
What I know, that's everybody's the hot question right now is like, oh, how did you do with the downturn and the recession during that time? Let's not talk about that right now. I want to know just how the difference of where you were investing, where you saw just like the hot areas and stuff like that. How has it changed to now we're like, 12 years past of when you started, of how much is like just the Indy market changed and what you've seen and where you started and kind of just the different neighborhoods, different areas. Give me an overview of what you think of it, just that change that's happened right now.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, I'd probably say most of the change, the areas that we were investing in back then are very similar to the areas that we buy 70% of our properties in today, honestly. A lot of downtown areas, a lot of neighborhood properties. But just off the top of my head, I remember buying a property in Fountain Square on Orange Street for $5,000. I just remember that off the top of my head. And I think I sold that for like 15, something like that. So that's one vaguely I have in my memory. But I remember buying a lot of properties on LaSalle, Ewing, Dearborn, stuff over in Grace, Tuxedo, obviously we talked about the Fountain Square areas, Brightwood, Lawrence, out the east side, west side. So a lot of the similar areas that we bought in now. As far as the prices go, I mean, that's what I love about Indianapolis, and people are really concerned about this downturn. And I can tell you the prices, obviously that $5,000 Fountain Square price was an exception. I mean, I've had that tattooed in my memory, but most of them, we're buying for $5,000 to $10,000. We're paying today 20 to 25, and this is like, this has been one of the hottest markets in the, for a long time. So the prices in some of the areas haven't drastically changed. Some have. Some of the areas have been blown up. They've been rehabbed, and Windsor Park is one, and some of them have, but some of them have not. So I definitely want to dive into some of the areas, but the more stable areas like Lawrence and far west side Eagledale, I mean, those prices haven't drastically changed that much. So yeah.
That's why I love the Indy market. It's steady. That's what I always say, man. It's steady, does its thing and stuff. So let's go ahead and jump in here real quick. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And basically what I have here is just kind of a map of Indianapolis. This is the one that we like to use. It's just kind of the breakdown of the different neighborhoods of just kind of Indianapolis. A local artist, I believe, does these, and I'm not sure exactly. I apologize. I don't know their name or how they do this or anything like that. But they basically put out a new map of this every year. And this is last year's map, so it might have changed from what this year is. But this is what we base a lot of our stuff off of just when we're kind of naming neighborhoods and looking at the areas and things like that. All these different breakdowns of kind of the neighborhoods and stuff like that are broken down either by rivers or streets. So this is just something that we use to kind of take a look at it and stuff like that. But kind of a real quick overview. If you are new to Indy or just looking to invest, you haven't been out here to visit or anything like that, kind of a real quick breakdown of, if you take a look at, we have the downtown right here, Indianapolis. The people right now that are doing a lot of the BRRRR strategy type stuff, that are, refinancing, looking to kind of pull some money back out and do that type of thing. The east side is really where a lot of that action is going on right now, kind of east side and down into, or Fountain Square, Bates Hendricks, those areas as well. But really, that east side is kind of where I see most of that action happening right now. If you are a big person that likes to you just want a property to buy it, you want to hold it and just collect rent for the next, 20, 30 years, the west side, I think, is just an area that you can just do that in all day long. There's also some areas, Speedway, that you can do the BRRRR strategy in around as well. But still, I think anything along this with west side, I describe it as a great just buy and hold market. That's what it's known for. That's what it's been doing. That's where our investors have been really successful doing that and stuff like that. Then you got the, down south is our areas that you got some families living down there. It's really easy to kind of buy a property, and, you might have a 2-bedroom or a 3-bedroom, 1 bathroom. You can fix it up and rent it out to a family pretty easily down in those areas as well. You can also just kind of, fix up a little ranch and, just put it on the market and make, 20 grand on a little flip. Nothing big, nothing huge or anything like that, but pretty easy to do down around there. Once you get up kind of north of the downtown, you got some nicer areas. You got some, areas that you're gonna get higher values from, stuff like that. You got areas like Broad Ripple, Sobro, things like that that are just kind of blown up, and some of the prices are just, kind of crazy of what you see kind of going on there right now and things. You have in Sobro, you have people that are buying these 2-bedroom, 1-bath houses and just basically putting another story on top of it. Basically kind of just doubling the size of some of these houses, and some of the lots are going for expensive things and stuff like that. But then you got, the area of Pike, New Augusta, things like that. Those are solid rental areas. If you're looking for the cookie cutter type places, Vinyl Villages, you're going to find some stuff up in there that you can rent out. So that's just kind of a quick just overview breakdown of kind of what Indianapolis is all about. If you go up a little north, then you got the suburbs up above, you have the Carmel, Fishers, Zionsville, all those places that are, considered, the A plus neighborhoods and that type of thing. So, and then down south, you have your Greenwoods, and you have your Southports and stuff like that down around here, which is kind of, it's a different kind of, I guess, a different trend than you have in the north suburbs. I kind of consider these like the kind of the B class suburbs, as a way I kind of view that in my mind and stuff. So, Brett, I just did kind of that, like I said, just a real quick overview of some stuff. If there's anything you want to, just a little flavor you want to add to what I kind of just threw in there with that?
Yeah, obviously, one thing I just would highly, highly recommend if you're investing in Indianapolis is to get a copy of this map. Brian might already said that, but it's just crucial to study the areas, study the neighborhoods, figure out where you want to be, drive the neighborhoods, and because Indianapolis does go by neighborhood to neighborhood. Sometimes it even goes street to street. So sometimes, especially downtown, it's just really difficult to kind of put a radius around a certain area because you got a $20,000 house. You go 2 streets over, it's 150. So I would just encourage. This is something I did not do at all early on, and I did not know the city of Indianapolis at all. And I wish that I could go back and really study what I was doing, and it would have saved me a lot of headaches and a lot of frustration with that. But the one thing I love about Indianapolis is I wrote kind of an article, not an article, but just on Facebook a month or so ago, just about the Indianapolis, on how it's easy to navigate, and I think that that's really crucial. Number one, it's called the Circle City. You got 465 circle going around it, as you can see on this map, and then you got 2 interstates crossing it. So you got Highway 70 going east and west, and then you got 65 going north and south, which makes it easy to navigate. And a lot of the streets are numbered. And you'll learn some of the different names of streets, but then it'll usually be a name with a number, right? Like 38th and Post. I don't know. I just threw out something there, but it's just kind of easy to navigate when you start talking about it. But yeah, Brian. I mean, as far as what you've been talking about, as far as the neighborhoods, we're going to be diving into particular neighborhoods and more in depth. We're going to get some experts on the show here in the future talking about some of the different, really, like, in-depth neighborhoods. This is more of a vague show, but But as far as what I enjoy investing in, I think it's just, there's different areas of the city that I think are good for different things. We do a lot of the seller financing model, and seems like a lot of those seem to be more on the west side, Hallville, Speedway, Eagledale areas. So if I'm looking for seller financing deals, I kind of like those areas. If I'm looking for like a really, good cash flow, 2% rule, rent rule, I'm looking at probably the near east side. Some of those neighborhoods that, kind of fit that, close to the near east side, out to Lawrence. So, and then high end flips, we can talk about those too, but that's just my 2 cents. I love Indy because it's just easy to navigate, but just encourage everybody to really study this map, study the city.
Yeah, definitely. And just a couple things with that, Brett said, mentioned that, it'd be good to, have this map and stuff like that. So this is something we get from Silver in the City is the location that we picked up these maps in. And they're selling them. I think they're around like 40 or $50, something like that. If you want a copy of this, honestly, just like I have a copy of this map and I used to have it hanging in our office and we moved office spaces. It's just like in my garage, right? Or yeah, it's just in my closet right now because I just use this map on my computer and stuff like that. So if you actually just want, like, let me know if you want a copy of this or whatever, and I'll just like email you. This is just a picture of it like hanging on our wall and stuff like that, and I use it more than anything. But you can do some overlays that are on like the MLS to find some neighborhoods as well. Google has the neighborhoods kind of listed on them. Some of them are outdated and things like that, and that's fine. But just kind of knowing the different areas, as long as you and your boots on the ground or the people that you're contractors, people that you're working with, as long as you guys are on the same page with the neighborhoods of what you're calling them, that's the main thing and stuff. And you might see, if you see like one of our guys or even just whoever you're working with, whether it's us or somebody else, that you see them talking about like a certain neighborhood, just don't hesitate to like ask them, because sometimes people call things different names in different areas, things like that. I had as one of our bigger buyers, this person buys multiple properties from us a year, like close to probably 15, 20 properties a year from us and stuff like that. And I noticed they were using the term of Riverside, like, I would, I don't want to buy in Riverside. And then they kind of switched it and they're like, oh, well, I kind of like this Riverside area. It's kind of turned around and I want to start looking there. Well, when I'm thinking Riverside, I'm thinking this area right in here, like actually along the river, south of 65 and stuff like that. But what they were actually talking about is what used to kind of be called Riverside, which is like that Highland vicinity, like Crown Hill area. I'm like, oh yeah, I love that area too. Like I could definitely get you some deals over there. Like we have all those. So this is kind of a thing of making sure that you guys, when you're talking about neighborhoods, talking about areas and criteria, that you guys are updating like what language you're using and knowing what areas you're actually talking about and things. So I think a cool thing, like just with this episode, is kind of we have this map up here and kind of talking now. I would actually wouldn't mind just kind of talking about a couple areas that maybe that we kind of like and that we see a lot of deals kind of happening in, but we don't really get to hear about them too much. So I know I'll kind of kick us off here, but like a couple areas that I really like we've done some pretty good deals here in Devington. There's some rougher areas around there and stuff, but there's some really good neighborhoods, good deals to do over in there. If you just want to, for a buy and hold, some really good streets and really good neighborhoods picking up over there. Love the Devonshire area. We've done a handful of deals over there, and like every one of them has just been like awesome. So it's a great area. One of my favorite areas though that like I never hear anybody talking about it, and a lot of people call it like it's kind of like Greater Eagledale a little bit, but this Venerable Flackville area, man, there's been some really good deals that we picked up over there. Just nice neighborhoods. You get some, 2-1s or 3-1s. Pretty basic. You have your basic, one level floor plan, but then you usually have a basement as well. But houses that people can, we might be able to pick them up around like 30 to 40,000, and they only need maybe $10,000 to $15,000 worth of work in it, and you're going to be able to rent it out for, maybe 750, something like that. Or we've done some owner financing deals over there where we picked up a property for around, $30,000 to $40,000 and be able to sell it for, around 55 or so, and just with owner financing, stuff like that. So just a cool area, but it's an area that there's deals accessible in there. And I know like the same thing with like kind of Stringtown, Hawville, Hawthorne, Hawville. Like I love those areas down there for just, I feel like when we pick something up down there, we're able to have those multiple exit strategies, which is something we're always looking for as investors and stuff. So, when you get into areas like, like the Fountain Square, like the Bates Hendricks, some of the bigger projects within like Holy Cross and things like that. Sometimes you only have that one exit strategy if you have too much money into it at once. So you got to be careful whether they're older homes to bigger older homes. So if you get like a foundation issue or something like that, you definitely want to check it out before you go all into it and stuff. But Brett, you got any neighborhoods you just want to kind of throw out there, ones that you like that maybe like people haven't heard of, or what do you think about that, man?
Yeah, definitely. Well, you mentioned the Devonshire and the Devington. I actually used to live in Brendan Wood. That's where Karen and I actually got married. So I used to live right around that area, and I loved living there. So that was pretty cool. You really mentioned the Riverside, and then next to it is the Crown Hill area, and so the Riverside area is one that, yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna tell you, like, it was one of the worst areas, honestly. Like, nobody wanted to buy there. It was very tough.
I think about a year ago at this time, we actually having that conversation of like acquisition guys, like stop buying properties. Like we don't want them. And then it's like
Yeah,
literally
and
3
that was
months later, we're like, oh, every people want those. Like let's
yeah,
start picking it back up. So
and that was like a year ago. But I remember, 5 or 6 years ago, it was really bad where you could buy properties for 5, 10 grand, and the ARV might be 28, right? So it was kind of crazy. But now, yeah, I'm seeing a lot of properties turn. I'm seeing some flips in there selling for 100,000 or over 100,000, and that's been awesome to see because it actually is a really cool area. You have a lot of the rivers around there, and that's been pretty cool. And you also mentioned the Crown Hill area, which is really close towards some of the other downtown neighborhoods, and always wanted to see that area kind of bounce back. And again, very similar, that used to be able to buy 10, 15, $20,000 properties. And what's cool about some of these areas is they're turning, but you can still buy 20 to $30,000 properties. They might need obviously some work and things like that, but there's a lot of potential because you have some flips going on in Crown Hill. You got some flips selling for over 100 to 120, 130, 140,000, and so you got a lot of potential. So I think what Brian talked about is you have a lot of exit strategies. You could buy a lower end, and it'd be a great burst strategy because you get some great comps, and you have a great ARV that you can pull some money out of, and you can rent it, or you can fix it up and flip it as well. So, or you can seller finance it. And one area I'll just talk about here is probably more to the down south area that we've done some deals in. So you got that Fountain Square area, but then south of that tends to be like the Bean Creek area. And we've done some good deals there. Again, hasn't like exploded, but you can still get good deals, 30, 40, 50, 60,000 that need some work, but then you got some comps, 100,000, 120, 30. And I feel like it's a solid area too, that you got a little bit of mixture in there. You can get some good deals, but there's a lot of upside potential as well. And I think that's the areas that we really love to be in, getting good deals with a lot of good comps and upside, and they're not all, you know, 30K comps all around you.
yeah, I think it's just one of the big things is making sure we've talked about like being on the same page as your boots on the ground or your property manager, whoever it may be. But make sure, I mean, it's you're always just checking up on things. As things are changing, within 6 months, a neighborhood could change pretty super drastically, but there can be some pretty big changes in certain neighborhoods. We use that Riverside as an example of last year. We were literally saying like, hey, let's not buy any properties here right now. And then by the end of the year, I think we ended up doing like 23 deals just in the Riverside area, which is pretty awesome. So one of the things too, I remember when I moved out to Indy. It's been almost 6 years ago now. I met Brett and stuff, and I knew he was in real estate investing. And my wife and I like went down to Fountain Square, and this was before like all the big flips and stuff were happening in Fountain Square, and there's basically like a new brewery, and that was it down there. And we're going down there and having a beer, and my wife's like, "Oh, this is where Brett like buys properties and stuff." I'm like, "Why? Why in the middle of the season to invest here now?" Knowing what I know, I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's a great, great opportunity and stuff." And we're finding those new neighborhoods and things, and it's always kind of funny too. I know within our team we have there's certain areas on this map of like where we just like want to get properties from just because of the names on them. When we see like the names on this map and stuff, since we use it, whether we finally got a deal in this neighborhood down here close to Bean Creek, what Brett was talking about. It's called Sarah Shank. There's a golf course down there, so like we've always wanted to get a deal on Sarah Shank, and we got one here like 2 weeks ago. We sold it within like a day. So it's a kind of a cool area down there. There's also this little area up here by Sobro called Bacon Swamp. I haven't done a deal in Bacon Swamp yet. I just really want to, just to put it out there on our promos and stuff.
Yep.
So,
And I like going down to Christian Park. That's a good area too. That's where all the Christians hang out.
so there you go. Christian Parks, yeah. I mean, good area and stuff like that. Then there's, I mean, there are these areas too, like the Washington Parks and the Bright Woods that have kind of a bad reputation, kind of a negative connotation, stuff like that. But there's good pockets in there that you can do things with. It all depends on what you want to do and what your strategy is. If you are like, man, I want to just buy and hold properties that are in B class areas, no, you don't want to send your guy over there. You're not going to find it. But if you're like, hey, I'm okay picking up a property for $30,000 and renting it out for 600 and for the next 20 years. If you're okay doing that, then you send your guy over there. You can find some good pockets, some good neighborhoods, and stuff like that. There are some streets that you don't want to drive down or walk down, and you'll see kind of the memorials where you have like a bunch of flowers out in front of the house. I mean, probably somebody passed away there from a drug overdose or something like that. Yeah, stay away from stuff like that. But there's a little bit of everything in Indy, and it's definitely pocket by pocket, neighborhood by neighborhood, and in some cases street by street, and stuff like that. So, Brett, I do want to kind of ask you, what are some? I want to ask you, is there anything since you've been doing this? Is there any area that you kind of have like a negative bias to where you're like, oh man, I don't like that area because I just did a bad deal there, and I'll never do it again? Or is there anything like that you have in your mind?
I mean, I don't really want to put that totally out there just because of sometimes you get that stigma in your mind just because you did a bad deal. Maybe it wasn't the area, maybe it was just the deal. um and I mean, probably a couple of, let's say one area. I know we've had a conversation about the West Side Mars Hill. Brian and we've had a question about that area probably multiple times. We get a lot of properties sent over from that particular area on Mars Hill. And honestly, I used to love that area 2, 3, 4 years ago. Seemed like every deal we did was at least a decent deal. Wasn't ever a home run or anything like that. It was at least a decent deal. And maybe the area's changed just a little bit where we haven't made that much money on some of the deals over there. So that's an area that we probably watch for. I'm not saying we won't do a deal in there, but for some reason, maybe it's just the deals that we have bought had certain, foundation things or something like that that made it hard to sell. But that's an area I guess I'm watching. And some of the hot flip areas, I don't have any negativity towards them, but right now, especially with what's going on, I'm very careful. I actually just had a podcast on our other show, which is the Real Estate Investing with a Purpose podcast, and I had a guy, and I didn't know this, he had 2 properties in Indy, and I said, well, where are they at? And he said, well, one of them was a flip. I guess he lent money on it, and he got the property back, and it was in Bates Hendricks. So I guess it's a rehab property in Bates Hendricks. And he didn't tell me he was asking, but I said, well, send it over. But he said, what's your opinion about that area? And I just said, I don't know what you're asking, but I'm more conservative just by, what's going on some of these high end flip areas. Probably just from my experience though, because I remember I used to buy stuff for $5,000. So it's hard to swallow a $250,000 pill, in some of these areas. So I don't know. So I guess that's some of my biased opinions, not saying they're right or wrong, but that's just me.
It's just funny how those formulate and stuff like that. I have a little bit of a bias like in Greenwood, just because I did a bad deal in Greenwood and it didn't go well, and we still ended up making a profit on it and everything was fine. But it just the way things went down, and people I talked to, it was just a weird deal. So I'm always like, man, I'm just like, my numbers are always conservative on Greenwood. I'm like, I need to get over that. I need to like, there's still some good properties down there and stuff, but it comes down to too of knowing your numbers and knowing what's going on, of kind of where you really are making some money and where you are losing money. in certain areas, whatever your strategy is and things, or how quickly you can get things rented out, and what areas are doing that better for you and things like that. So I know kind of one story is with us of properties that we were picking up around Little Flower. We kind of would see, Little Flower come across and kind of look at that area and stuff like that. And, I like that area. It's a solid area and a nice little pocket and stuff like that. And when I really dug into the numbers and I understood what we were doing, the ones that we were actually buying in the Little Flower area, we were like, had like an average profit of like, I don't know, I think it was like $1,500 on and stuff, because we were bidding too high, because we kind of had that, like, oh, Little Flower is a really good area and stuff like that, kind of had that in our heads. And it was they weren't really that great of deals, but the ones we were buying, like around like the Brookside and the Otterbines, those were like, our numbers were better on those, and those are the ones we were actually making money on and things. So making sure kind of what streets you're actually looking at, which neighborhoods you're actually in, and where your numbers actually lie, and knowing those numbers is a really a key to kind of whatever business you're running. If you're doing, if you're a wholesaler and you're out there doing that, if you're just, wholetailing kind of like us, if you are, buying holds and stuff like that, if you're looking to flip, make sure kind of, what those streets are, especially if you are out of town. Make sure that you do understand kind of what that pocket is, and if you're not here live, then you are having somebody out there running those neighborhoods for you, doing videos or drone footage of that street and the next street or whatever it may be and stuff, and really understanding what you're looking at here. And if there's anything that we can do to help you out with all that stuff, that's that's what we're here for. That's why we want to do this podcast. We want to make sure people are educated. We want to make sure that we can give any value that we can, help anybody out. So it comes in turn too. We're like, hey, yeah, if we need to go look at a property for you, or drive by it and take a picture, we can do that. Let us help you, anything like that. If it gets excessive, I might say something, but we'll see. We're here to help.
Every day. Can you go look at these 5 properties, Brian?
So, so Brett, what else do you want to cover, man? Are you what are some like, give me one more neighborhood that you kind of just have like or one neighborhood or one area that you just kind of have a success story that you're like, man, I really liked the deal that we did here, and it turned out really well for us and the investor, or whatever that may be.
Yeah, no, definitely. So there's the one area, I think last year when we bought, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 properties in that Windsor Park area. And the one thing that I will say, that areas and neighborhoods sometimes, at least for us, have seasons. They have like lifespans, right? Where there is a period of time where we make a lot of profit, that we make a lot of money. And last year, I think we had an average profit of, I don't know, around 12, 13,000 in that Windsor Park area. And but this year, I don't think we've gotten a deal, because it's blown up that much. It's very difficult. So then maybe that area for us has had its lifespan. But what's really cool about Indianapolis is that there's right around the corner, there's another area that we can dig into as well. So I would say, as far as maybe 2019, that was an area that we really loved, and we made some good money on, that I've seen some amazing things happen. So.
Yeah, so that's the same thing kind of with that kind of area down there. I used to, I love that Windsor Park area. Now they have just like kind of the bigger organizations. They're doing a lot of, there's just huge houses down there and stuff like that. So a lot of big projects going on, things.
But what I do see too, I want to kind of mention this, is a lot of times I always look for areas near some of those areas, because I guess, my thought process doesn't happen all the time, but my thought process is, could it spread? Right now we're all stuck at home because this virus is spreading. Well, a lot of times that does happen in neighborhoods too. So you got the Windsor Park area. I mean, I'm actually looking north of there at the Spades Park, right across the river there. And I'm thinking, hey, because there's still some really cheap, amazing deals there. And I'm like, could this spread a little bit of love up north? So I always kind of like look at areas like that.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. I mean, I love this area. We've been doing some really good deals, and some investors are doing some great things down here in Brookside. So there's some good stuff down there, and even like the Willard Park area. I like that area a lot. Same thing with Fountain Square, of where it's blown up so much, of like just over here across the tracks on Twin Air. Like it's a nice area. There's some good stuff going on in there and things like that. So kind of knowing, what those big areas are and those hot areas are that everybody's looking at. But then what's beside it? Can I go next door and get a good value as well and stuff. So, all right, Mr. Snodgrass, we are about out of time. Do you have any last words for us to wrap us up here today?
Yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this show. And again, like I said, on future podcast episodes, we're going to really dive into certain areas and neighborhoods, and really excited about what this is bringing. Have had a lot of good feedback. If you guys have any questions, please reach out to Brian Snyder on Facebook or Brett Snodgrass on Facebook, and we'll answer any questions on the air. We have a list of, I don't know, probably 20 questions right now that people have sent us that we're going to be kind of diving into as well. And I would just say educate yourself on neighborhoods and where do you want to be? What kind of cap rates do you want? Do you want rentals or flips? And just study the areas. And I think you guys would be good off. Get that map.
So awesome. Sounds good. Thanks a lot. And thanks a lot for joining us today. Let us know if we can do anything to help you out. If you want me to shoot you just a picture file of this map, just let me know. Shoot me an email at brian@wholesaling.com. I'd be more than happy to help you out. And let us know if we can do anything at all for you. So thanks a lot. Hope you enjoyed the show, and we will see you later.